morning, good afternoon, good day, good night, wherever you are in the world. I'm your host for today. My name is Marion. I'm really excited to be hosting John Harrison for his second round here with Etchr. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, yeah, we got a good number of people watching. Hello, Joanne, Suzanne, Ingrid, Susan. All good to see you. We're really excited to get started. Um, so just a couple of things here. John will be demonstrating a quicker demo for today. And so we'll save any questions that aren't immediately relevant for the Q&A at the very end, just so that John has time to go through his process and really talk us through about how he goes with his drawing and his painting. But feel free to ask any questions and really engage with us, and we'll have a really great time here at the very end. Oh, we got a good amount of people here, John. Yeah, a good number of people. We got 40 and counting. So this is lovely. Okay, so I'm going to bring it on over to you, John. Go ahead and get started and say a little something, and then we'll start painting.
Yeah, marvelous. All right, thanks, Marion. And hi, everybody, whoever you are. This really still feels weird that I'm here talking to my iPhone and there's 40 people and counting, however many. Yeah, it's odd. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. The drawing aspect of a line and wash piece is quite often something that people struggle with. Lots of people are comfortable with paint and adding watercolor, but it's the drawing bit. So I thought I'd do this for this live demo, and then in a mini workshop later on, we'll go into the rest of the process and fill it out and do all the other things. An hour is lots of time for me to do a drawing. The piece I've picked, I remember doing the initial drawing. I think it took me 20 minutes to do. So I'm going to have to really slow down, talk about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's going to be good. I was just saying to Mary and everybody, I've got these fabulous. Can we see them? Look, I've just got this wonderful Etchr fountain pen. Hang on, wrong way. There you go.
There
Fabulous
you go.
fountain
Yep.
pen that I've filled with some waterproof ink rather than standard fountain pen ink. Because waterproof ink, obviously, if you're adding watercolor washes over the lines, it needs to be fixed. And it's a German ink, I think. It's called Sketch ink. There you go. Works really, really well. So we'll see how that happens. So shall I switch the camera around so you can see my workspace, and then we'll get cracking. How's that
Yes,
seem?
sir. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and
So
switch that over.
so I need the camera. Sorry, that
Mm-hmm.
camera, and I need the back camera.
Mm-hmm.
Bear with me, everybody.
Yep. And make sure you exit out of the settings, John, so we could see your video.
There
There
we
you are.
go. So let me just fix this in the holder. Bring it down so that you can see. Let me just stand up and see. I could probably come down a little there and yeah. So I'm going to be drawing there. Is that good?
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
If people need to see closer, we can zoom in a little bit closer. Just let us know in the chat if we need to.
Yeah.
I've also
It,
put a link of the reference photo in the chat so that you can see the artwork as well as the location that you will be drawing today.
yeah. Right. So as well as this lovely fountain pen, I can't wait to use it. I'm also actually using my Etchr Perfect Sketchbook. There you go.
Yeah, love it.
Wonderful. It's got the paper in it is really really good. And if I just show you, there's a drawing I did the other weekend on a sketch trip.
Oh, that's
It
gorgeous.
takes yeah it takes takes the paint really, really well, and you can put lots of paint on, and the paper's thick enough and good enough to withstand all that. But equally importantly, it takes line, takes ink really well. So let's get cracking. There's the reference. This is a cottage in the Lake District in Langdale. And although I'm basically focusing on the line work, the drawing today, I picked this as a reference because it's got everything I look for in an image. It's got a building, which is number one. It's got this lovely lane that leads out, and there's, you probably see if you printed it out, or let's go a bit nearer, it's got these lovely shadows in, which of course I wouldn't try and depict shadows in ink, because you'd be there forever and a day. Nor all this foliage, that would be done in the watercolor stage. So let's pop that under that. I'll try and keep, I'm not sure if I can keep that in, but I think the important thing is this area here. So you can see, just tell me, it's really weird, I'm working blind, I can't actually see if I'm still in shot. So there you go. It's roughly the same, but it's the same proportion as the page, which I think is important. And when I start to draw, I always I start from the foreground when I'm working direct in ink. If I was doing a pencil sketch, I would do a preparatory pen sketch. I would do all of the main shapes lightly in pencil, and then start to ink in from the foreground back. This is scene setting. It's not important, the stuff in the background. Sorry, I was off camera there. All of this is scene setting, so there'll be very little pen work in there. And in fact, I might switch from the Etchr fountain pen to a really fine unipin for that, to achieve the difference in line weight. So let's go. Enough of my blabber. So the most important thing is that it's a telegraph pole, and some people may choose to think, well, look, I don't want that in because it's not picturesque. But you know what? It's part of the scene, and drawing it in, it kind of helps. It gives you a measure, and it helps to frame. It's a lead in. So let's work out where there you go. The roof line's there. We'll come along here. You can't see what I'm doing really. I'm just kind of drawing. But what I'm doing is watching, mainly looking at the reference photograph rather than my drawing. And what I like to do, probably picked up on this already, I like to keep the pen on the paper almost continuously as long as I can, because it gives you a lovely flow. It works for me, and I'm holding the pen fairly loosely. I'm not gripping it down there to have a tight line. I can see this ink's really wet, so I need to be mindful of that. So that comes down there. And this is it's a bit of a lean-to there. So the next thing is to start to put now these are called coping stones on top of a dry stone wall. Try and put these in. And I should point out at this stage that there's no way that I'm copying slavishly every single stone on the wall. I'm just, because I've drawn quite a few walls and I know this picture, I'm confident that I can get kind of the sense of the walls, but I'm just now I'm not looking and thinking, all right, yeah, there's a big square one there, or there's a round one there. I'm just adding lines. And again, the dry stone wall is perfect for the continuous, let's put this in, the continuous line. And you get a lovely, loose, lively feel. And I'm just making up the stones now.
John, could we
Yeah,
have your sketchbook go up just a tad? It's kind of obscured by your name. Yeah, there you go. Thank you
is
so
that better?
much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You see, there you go. I had no idea that was happening. So
no worries.
technology,
That's
yeah,
what I'm here for.
yeah, good. Oh, I've lost it. There we go. Right now,
Mhm.
get this in, and there's a big folder at the bottom there that's got something on. Just some loose stones. Again, there's a good argument for when you're doing the line drawing in preparation for a line and wash piece, and you know you're going to add uh, watercolor to it, is not to put sufficient line detail in so that you can rely on the paint to make sense of how the wall turns the corner. Um, but for this kind of taster, I'm going to do as much detail in line, including some shadow. So we get, you could actually leave. So my aim is at the end of this session is to have a drawing that could stand on its own merits as a line drawing without any painting. It won't last that long because I'm itching to get some paint. Because side by side with these lovely fountain pens, I've got this to play with. Look at this, fantastic!
Yes,
It
about
just arrived.
watercolors.
I've not, yeah. So I've got that to play with. But because we're only drawing today, that's I'll save that for another day. Perhaps for the mini workshop, I think I might use those colours there. The only thing is they're all wrapped in in paper, so there's about an hour's unwrapping ahead of me there. So it's one reason I prefer tubes. Um,
Mhm.
I've got pallets everywhere, and what I do is just fill these from tubes, so you've not got.
Mhm.
But hey ho, so let's go on the top of the wall there. What I'm doing, right, that's where the gate comes. And there's those. I must say this pen's behaving beautifully on this paper. Really is.
Yeah, I'm just admiring how it flows on the paper there. I have yet to try that myself, so I'm really happy to see
Yeah,
it work so well here with you. Yeah.
I mean, this paper's got a lovely texture, and I use a rough paper when I'm doing live workshops, bigger pieces and things. And I
Mhm.
do find that sometimes some of the rough papers, the ink doesn't flow as well. But this seems to be. I'm not sure what size this nib. Oh, this is a fine nib. This is, yeah, which is good.
Mhm.
Um, so it's important, and I can make a much scratchier line, a much finer line by really you can't tell from the shot. But I'm kind of really lifting off the pressure there. But if I then increase the pressure, look, I can get a lovely.
Mhm.
And that's the thing you can't get with a technical pen. These drawing pens, these fixed nibs.
Mhm.
No matter how hard you press, you're still going to get a fixed line. So the fountain pens are kind of the next best thing to this thing. I've got this wonderful
Mm.
vintage dip pen. I think it's about 67 years old, and it's fabulous. But it means
Wow.
having an open bottle of ink, and I know me and
Right.
ink. I'll reach over and the ink will go everywhere. So I need to be really careful. So fountain pens are really a really good substitute. Right now, I think it's a gate, this. I'm sure it's a gate, so I'm just doing, put the cross member in.
Yeah,
I'm just
I was
doing
going to
the,
save this question for the end, John, but I think it might be relevant here. Um, how do you have any advice on how to keep the proportions right? There's a lot of perspective in this, in this reference photo here.
yeah,
Would you be able
yeah.
to kind of touch a little bit on that? Hmm.
Well, the glib answer would be just practice, do lots of it. But I know because on my live workshop yesterday, we did, I devised a perspective sketch that had on the reference photograph, there were two copies of it and it had perspective lines overlaid. Um, and people found that really useful. But on this one, let's bring this in. So all I can, you see, I know now I've kind of scaled up to fit the page, but because I'm I'm experienced, I'm fighting shy of saying that I'm good enough, but I've got enough experience to know roughly, the brain and the eye and the hand are in coordination enough to know that I can um, judge it very carefully. But one of
Hmm.
the ways of getting into that habit is to simply, do the old thing of grab a pencil or anything and just measure, from
Hmm.
there to there, and then put dots on the paper, and then literally it's just join the dots. But
Right.
it it literally is just a question of just practice and do lots of it. Um, because at the end of the day, it literally is. This is only, and I mean, it's beautiful paper, but it's only a piece of paper with some ink on. And if
Hmm.
we make a mess on this, we just do another one. But I would say, if you make a mess of a drawing and you decide to abandon it and move on, don't throw it away. Date it, and then if you can, make a note on what went wrong, what what you did wrong or what you didn't do right, and then
Hmm.
you can remember it and you can learn. See, I read this fantastic quote the other day that I keep saying, and people are going to be sick of it, but I thought it was really good. It was with mistakes. It said you should forget the mistake, but remember the lesson. So
Ooh, I
that's
love
a
that.
really good, yeah. So, and with this proportion, see, I've made a mistake here. That chimney should be about there, and it's not in line with
Mm.
the gate. But anybody that hasn't got the benefit of looking at the reference picture won't know. So we'll just go ahead and just pretend that never happened. Put
So
put the
just keep
window
going.
frames in. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all bluff. It's all make it look as though you're meant to do things. Um,
Hmm.
and there's a window there. I know enough about the architecture of these lakelet cottages that there's always a ground floor window underneath the top one. So here's how I like to do in ink, how I like to do. Um, these are good old English sash windows. So I like to, rather than draw the frame and then ink in, I much prefer to do that, to ink in the panes. And then over there we'll do this, do similar. And because it's in perspective, the panes at the left hand side are kind of obscured by the window frame there and there. And then you see more of this. These are all little tricks that kind of help with perspective. And there's a black sill there. And then we'll do these, just to give a hint of that. And then about here, these things things must be a line of slates that they're just set in to provide a decoration. Now there's some greenery there, which at the moment would just be fine lines. And then we've got another window down there. And in terms of the perspective, Marion, I've got a ruler now. I've got a short ruler. Perhaps I'll tell you what. I'll use the end of this. The perspective on this is, the vanishing point of this is about. See if I've got a white pen. The vanishing point for this perspective is about there somewhere, because if you look, you can do this and pivot the whole thing. I'm not sure if these lines are showing up, but the vanishing point is where the end of the pen is, and you just do this. Look, and all the lines on the house on the front of the cottage converge to that point. That's the vanishing point for that. There's another perspective happening at the end of the house, which is over there somewhere, and then the lane itself is adding another perspective challenge. But the main one is to get the perspective.
All right, John, just a time check for you. We're about 20 minutes into our demo. So I dropped a link to the mini workshop here. We're kind of about the halfway point, but if we're at a good point where you can kind of talk about your mini workshop, maybe go into detail on what people will be getting and what they can expect from you in the mini workshop that they'll sign up for.
Well, yeah. Oh, hang on. I've lost the audio there, I think.
Oh,
I've lost the
can
audio
you
in
hear me,
my
John?
earbuds. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
okay. I can hear you, John. John.
Yeah,
Okay.
Siri switched itself
There.
on.
Okay.
Can you still
Okay.
hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me, John?
Hello?
Yes, John. I'm here.
Sorry, bear with me, folks, while I just have a look at this phone.
Sorry about that, everyone. Tech difficulties. He may just need to disconnect from his earbuds.
Yeah, we're okay. Are we still there?
Yeah. Can you hear me, John? I'm sending you a message here. John, can you hear me now?
No, I can't. Look, I can't hear you at all.
Okay.
Shall I
Can
just carry
you?
on?
My goodness. Okay. So, John, if you can hear me, you just need to disconnect your phone from your earbuds.
Are we back? Can you hear me?
I can hear
I
you,
can't
John.
hear you at all. So you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and carry on until somebody says stop. We can't hear you, or whatever. Yeah, the mini workshop. To be honest, I haven't got the material to hand. But we'll be doing more of the same, but with the added process of adding paint to a line drawing such as this. Some more greenery there, and it will make sense. At the moment, I'm well aware that these are all just lines, on it with the paint. I wonder if it's these earpods, these AirPods.
Hey, John.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can all hear
Completely
you,
lost
John.
any audio. Yeah. I wish I knew what was happening with this, but no, I can't
Okay, I
hear
might just have to
anything
send you
from
an
anybody. I can't hear you,
email
Marion,
there,
but
John.
hopefully it might kick back in.
Oh, you know what? I'll use a banner to.
Which is annoying because I can't get any feedback or any pointers. But yeah, the mini workshop I can't remember when it is. It's really dreadful of me. I should know these dates. It will be, as I say, more of the process of doing a line drawing and then adding paint to it. No, I haven't got the details to hand, so I can't immediately look up what we actually said. Apologies for this, folks. It's really, this is bizarre.
All right,
And if
everybody,
I
as we
disconnect
will
the
continue
AirPods,
on here. Yes, you do need to disconnect. Are you there, John?
right? Let me disconnect the AirPods.
Okay.
Right.
How's now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me now, John? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me again?
Yes, we can hear you, John.
Good. Right. Sorry, the drawing's still there. Don't worry, folks.
Yeah.
I can't hear you at all. So I'll just carry on and see what we can do. I've got all the audio settings on the phone correct. It's off. Camera's on. Camera, mic, audio.
Yeah. How about, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Right, look, I'll tell you what, Marion and everybody else, apologies for this audio. If you can hear me, it just means I can't hear you. So let's just crack on. What I will do after this, I'll have a look in the live chat and see if there's anything that I can help with by replying to comments there. Not sure why this audio is suddenly gone.
So anyway, let's get this wall finished, because we need to crack on a little and get the wall. And this shadow here that I've put in with some ink is kind of the shadow that falls across the lane. And this is the back of the lane where it falls round there, follows round. And we'll just put this is the curve of the wall. There's some greenery there coming over, and there's the top of the wall. Now, there's no way on this. Sorry, I just put the edge of the grass verge in there because that's kind of important. There will be some greenery in there. This wall here, I'm going to put nowhere near the amount of detail in as I have on there, because I want the eye to focus on this bit. So this it'll be covered in paint. And I think actually what I might do, Marion, is at the start of the mini workshop, I think between now and then, what I might do is add some colour to this and then show this, so that people that have watched the demo can see the finished thing and see what I'm talking about. And let's bring some of this foliage in. Again, very spidery lines, just to give the shapes of the edge of the overhanging trees. Again, that will all be filled in with paint. And there's actually a wall going up there somewhere. Some more foliage here. Here you go. And then at the top, actually what I'll do is finish this telegraph pole and take it right the way across. There's a bit of foliage peeking over there. And then at the top, this is the line of the fell, which I'll bring down there. Just a single line, as I say. I don't want much detail, and there's a kind of something up there. And I would put all of this detail in with paint, but for the purposes of this demonstration, look, I'll just describe it so you get a sense of the kind of the hill coming down with some lines. Again, I'll use those. And then this is really frustrating, not being able to hear anybody. Wednesday, October the 19th.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to give me plenty of time to add to this. See, everything's up, the volume's up, the camera's on. This is bizarre. But in fairness, Marion did warn me that this new platform can have some issues, and I guess we've got one now. So the bit I've just realized that we've completely ignored is this, the side there. So I'll put that in. There is about there, there's some more greenery there, and it's this lovely greenery that will contrast against all the grey stonework. And again, I'm doing the continuous line technique. I think it's a lot livelier than laboriously drawing every single stone or part of the wall individually. And I think in there, there's there's a window. This might be a porch or a Lamborghini. Sorry, weak attempts at humour there. Apologies for that. And then the other thing I'll do, I think I can see here there's a kind of a roof skylight in there. And then what I'll do to add texture, I'm just doing this really, really lightly, really faint, to suggest the tiles. And I think I'll do this as well along this long roof, because if you don't suggest it with lines, it just looks like another white shape, whereas the front of the cottage is classic Lakeland white render, and the top is Lakeland slate. So we're doing great for time.
Yeah.
Just wish I could hear people, or at least Marion, who's moderating this. And I'm not sure, you see, even if I turn the phone off and reconnected, if that might work, might be worth, but I just don't want dead air. Because I want to go on to the final stage in this line drawing, which is, by and large, most of those lines are all of a similar weight. So what I would do now is get a heavier pen, a heavier line weight. I'm going to use a 0.5, and just add some profile lines just to make some sense, and it will just be along the tops of the wall. There, and it kind of just separates the foreground bits from the background. I won't do it on the foliage. I'll do it on there. I'll do it at the edge of the cottage. I'll do it along the ridge tiles. And do this, and what it does is really bring it into focus. And we'll put a thicker line where I'm drawing now, there. And again, if I were adding paint to this now, I'd probably put a much heavier line down either side, down the telegraph pole. In fact, do you know what? I'll do it now. And then, do you know what? I think I know what I'm going to do. Sorry, this is called improvisation. There are some shadows on this, which I would normally use paint to depict. I'll just put some detail on under the eaves. Again, this is a much heavier pen, and it's all right on this. It's great on the paper, but it's not flowing as neatly as the Etchr pen flows. So there's a really good reason to try one of those Etchr fountain pens. It flows beautifully. So I'm going to go back to my favorite, my default 0.1 and use it. And there's some, let me bring the reference picture in again there. the light is kind of from this direction. So this gable end is in shadow, and that side of that is in shadow, and there's this lovely shadow there. So I think what I'll do now is just use the pen to, and I'm really doing it as lightly as I can. These are long lines to do rapidly, so I'll do them. I'll slow down a bit. Technically, this is hatching. It's not cross hatching because all the lines are going in one direction. But I'll still use paint, and then under this porch here will also be in shadow, and then this here, that will be in shadow as well. That's definitely, there's a bit of shadow because it's recessed. And then we could start to put some shading on some of these stones. And in fact, all of this, the front of the wall is kind of, there is some sun on. I'm really tempted to have a go at depicting this shadow across the wall in pen, but it's not as effective. So what I'll do is just use these. Do you know what? I'll do the whole thing. And the pen is barely touching the paper now, but I hope you can see there's enough going down to suggest and I'll just bring the shadow to the corner, which is about here. And it'll just help to give a sense of the fact that there is a corner on the wall, and we'll use it there, I think. Yeah, we'll do that. I'm not usually a big lover of scribbling like this. I much prefer the lines to be much more considered and judged, but and then go in and put some darks in the corners where it all and we start to get some texture in there as well as some shapes. In fact, I'll switch back to the 0.5 now, because you cover much more ground much more quickly with a much heavier. There you go. And what that's done, it's given some sense of light. I'm really, I know that oh, do you know what? How long have we got? Quarter of an hour. I think there's enough time for me to do the shadows, and I'm going to be careful with this. So I don't want to ruin this. And I'll draw it along there, and the shadows will go up there. Again, even though I'm putting these lines down to suggest shadows, I will definitely still overlay paint shadow color on them, and it comes around it comes around the bend there and merges. Let's have a look what happens there. Yeah, there are all kinds of shadows there. So what I need to do is quickly it comes across. There's the edge of the shadow. And this is immediately giving, I can see it out the corner from my peripheral vision. It's giving the sense of light and shade in ink, I think, which is, so I think I think it kind of works. And then what we'll do is go back in with the heavier pen and put underneath the foliage some of this, and then and then we'll put some lines in, just to make some sense, the fact that it doesn't look like a rendered wall, that it is in fact still a dry stone wall. And I know I said I wouldn't put the detail in, but the detail needs to be suggested rather than drawn in tightly, especially around there. Let's have a look at this. There's my heavy pen. Yeah, so let's put these last few in. Have I missed anything on the main picture? There's actually a shadow. There's actually a shadow look there. Oh, in fact, I've missed that look. I've missed that porch. I think that was when the audio went off, so I think that's why I kind of skipped that. But there's that porch there. Yeah, and so the shadow is on the front of the house. But I think what I'll do is leave it to be suggested by the paint when I add that in time for the live demo. Let's have a look at some of these. We'll put some, you see, you've always got to be mindful where the light's coming from. So any shade that you put on would be on the opposite side. It seems fairly obvious, but it doesn't harm to say it, so that your light's coming from there. So the left-hand side of any stones will be darker, and because the light's from above, it will be the left hand and the lower. So for instance, that one there will go underneath, and that one. You don't have to do every one, because some of them won't have a shadow or an overhang where there's a corner there. And actually, I think I'm approaching that dangerous area that we all know and love so well, where we're fiddling and looking for things to do. I actually think that is pretty much complete as far as the line work goes. And apart from the hitch with the audio, I think that's gone fairly well.
Yeah.
So let me just see.
That looks great, John.
We can have you.
Yeah.
Right. So if I leave and then rejoin, that might start the issue. Right. I'll try that now, Marion, and we'll see what happens.
Sure. Okay, great. Ooh, that was incredible, everybody. Please go ahead and chime in the comments. We did go a little over time, but because we had that tech issue, we're just going to go ahead and extend this for a few minutes. So while we wait for John to come back, go ahead and ask questions to the chat here to see if we can answer a couple of them real quick. John, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yay!
Oh, huzzah!
How weird!
Oh, yeah. That was so strange. I think when your earbuds bugged out, it caused an issue with the StreamYard audio, and you just couldn't hear us. So, yeah. But anyway, this looks fantastic, John. It looks really incredible. And thank you for showing us some shadows that you did with the inking, because it really completes this drawing for us.
Yeah. It kind of works, but I'm itching to put some color on now. But that's not the point of this. That'll be that's for next time, I think.
Right.
But yeah, I'm fairly pleased with that, given the fact that when the audio went out, I went completely cold and went into a cold sweat. But do you know what? The main thing is that people could still see and hear me. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. People could still hear you, and I was trying to communicate with you through the little banner. So I think it worked out. Okay, John. So because we had a bit of a hiccup, we'll give them a little extra couple minutes here so that we can do a quick Q&A. Would you be okay with a couple questions here?
Absolutely. Fire away.
Awesome. Great. So we have a question here about the pen. So how do you go about selecting the kinds of pens for your drawing? You went back and forth with the fine liners as well as the fountain pens.
Yeah.
Any advice on how to choose? Yeah.
Well, no, for me, it's all about the different line weights in any drawing. Have I got another book somewhere? Yeah, here's a book. I'm doing this one-handed because the tripod's collapsed now. Oh, this is an old one. So there you go. This book is one that I kept in the car when I went out walking the dog. And all of these were done with a 0.1, which is the finest one. Well, no, it's not the finest. I've actually got a 0.05. But these were, and then it was overlaid and overlaid and overlaid. But I always start fine and then work up heavier. Obviously, you put the layers on. And some of these lines were done with a 0.3 just to pull the detail of that from the background. And similarly, paint there, bit of paint on there. You can tell I walk in. It's a country park near where I live. It's a lovely place to go walking and doing the dog. Yeah, and that was another one with lots, but all of that was done with a 0.1. Sometimes that works, and I've done hatching in the trees there. And in fact, this was a couple of years ago. What I'm doing now, in fact, with this sketchbook, is working through it and adding paint as I go along. There's one I did that was done on site with a 0.1. I've just put the color in, and the color makes a lot more sense. But you can see in these, because I only ever took a pen, I had to do all the shading and the different textures with a 0.1. Even with a heavier pen like the 0.5, you can kind of turn it on it so you're drawing with the shoulder of the nib, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And the amount of pressure, the way you hold a pen, and the amount of weight that you put on, all helps. But I must say that pen, that fountain pen's fabulous.
The fountain pen, yeah.
It
Awesome.
flows
Great.
really, really well. Yeah.
Lovely.
So
Yeah.
I'd be interested. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So there was a question about the fountain pens too, since you brought that up. How do you feel about the flex of those nibs for
Love
those
it.
pens there?
Absolutely
Love it?
love it. Yeah.
Mm.
You don't have to just like one thing exclusively. I love the consistency of these pens. You know, the nibs are all one consistent, and that's how they're manufactured. And I love that. So you know, a line over there will have the same weight as this, but I also love the flex of the nib, so that you can press and get a nice heavy line. It's fantastic. I would imagine they would work really well if you're doing like life drawing, portraiture. You know,
Right.
you get expressive lines for the face. I think they would work really well. That's not something I can do, but I think they would work well.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so just a couple more questions here. I want to go through them real quick, everybody, so just so that we have enough time for everyone's questions. Vivian asks, how do you create a drawing without putting too much darks? She usually overdoes the darks.
In terms of a drawing,
Yeah, in terms of the drawing.
too much darks. It's just a question of experience, and I know exactly what she means. It can happen a lot more with paint, but with drawing, I mean, I know if I were going to go on this wall, for instance, and put some more on, there would be a point at which I'll go, whoops, that's too much. Well, actually, there isn't there, because this is a fairly old 0.1, so it's not flowing as evenly as a brand new one, or indeed the fountain pen. So I'm confident now. I know how it feels, and on this paper in the Etchr book, it's fantastic. It gives a lovely scratchy feel, so that kind of stops you putting too much on, and you can see it happening. And if I go in there and start to color other stones, that would, yeah. So it's just a question of again, experience and doing it all the time. And then, as I said earlier on, you learn from the mistakes you make. You know, if you put too much black on, at the point that you put too much black on, you should be able to go back and say, right, where was I when it looked okay, and what did I do after that point? And it's just learning lessons all the time, and experience. Yeah. And if it's
Absolutely. Great.
lots of people in workshops actually start with a heavier pen like a 0.5, and you'll never you see. I can. There's a 0.5. I can get a fine line with a 0.5 just by turning it on its shoulder. But I've seen people go in and just, I haven't got I don't spot. There you go. I've seen people go in, and that's the first line they make. Well, they've got nowhere else to go. It's like music. It's music. You've got to have passages of quietness and loudness, you know, and it's got to go up and down. See, a 0.5 can do that line very, very well. But if you put, if that's your first line, you've got nowhere else to go. You can't go any darker or heavier.
Right.
So you know, it's choosing. It start like in watercolor. You start light and work to dark. And as it is with pens, I always start with a fine pen. Although in this case, yeah, the Etchr, I think the nib, or was it that one? The nib on that one is a fine. I think that's probably equivalent to a 0.2 fine pen. So that's still quite, it's really good. Yeah, hope that helps. Sorry,
Yeah.
I can go on a bit if you don't
Yeah,
stop.
no worries. I try to respectfully interrupt so that we can go to the other questions.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm just gonna do two more questions, everybody. I know there's a couple questions about the fountain pen, so I'm gonna try to address that in the chat or in the comments of this video,
Yeah.
since that's not quite related to John's process here. So just two more questions, okay? Simone is asking about the rough paper. Usually the fine liners tend to skip it. So how do you, or skip on, you know, the
Yeah.
paper? So how do you use that, or how do you control that?
I don't control it. In fact, I actively look for that to happen. That's why I use rough paper. I'm not sure what the technical spec of the paper in the Etchr books is, but this paper that I use all the time, this is Saunders Waterford.
Yeah.
And oh, there you go. That was a
That's
10-minute
gorgeous.
exercise, and
Yeah.
that was a continuous line drawing. I think on last 3-hour classes. If you were to look really closely, you can see how the line breaks up, and that's what I look for in a drawing, in a piece of line illustration. I much prefer a broken line than one that looks like it's been ruled with a ruler and a technical pen. That's a technical illustration. These are drawings or sketches. So yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. If you don't want
Okay.
broken lines, use a hot press paper.
Got it.
Yeah.
Beautiful, John. Okay, last question from Sydney, and then I want to go back to the mini workshop since that's what we bugged out earlier. Sydney asks, when you when you add the color to today's drawing, because you mentioned you would do that, will you paint just the house and the background, or just the background? What's kind of your plan with that?
Well, the plan is to it's easy not to paint the house because the house is white rendered, but I would definitely put some color on the roofs and on this lovely stonework, and then put some really pale grits. I'll frame this image. Yeah, and then it's these pops of green that are in the front gardens of the cottage. They're kind of peeking over the wall. So I think they're a given, and then some green there to tie in. Although I won't. If you look at the reference picture, it's really black and heavy, but I think I'll just do some selective color along the edges. Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, those are all the questions that we have time for. I'm gonna have John go through one more time about the mini workshop. So that we can hear a little bit more appropriately from his own words what you will be getting when you sign up. So John, do you happen to have an example of that painting on you? Or you know, do you
Remind
just
me
want to
again, Marion.
talk? Yeah.
What's the subject? What did I say?
Yeah, so the mini workshop, I'll show the link here and as well as the banner. It's called Watercolor Washing Rapid Drawings.
Yeah.
It is on October 19th, 2021 at 10 a.m. Eastern. Basically, you'll be bringing your drawings to life with watercolor washes and strong shadows. So John will teach you how to loosen up, have fun rapidly drawing, and then do some washes on top to create a very lively artwork.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar to you?
It is, in fact, and that is this one I've just found, which I did earlier this year. You've probably seen it somewhere. That's the kind of thing. That was a rapid drawing with all the line variations. And if I was redoing that, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and do it now because it's my sketchbook and I can. It's to show. I don't know if you can see. These weren't carefully painted. It was really, really quick and loose. You know, it wasn't tightly coloured in. It was controlled around the roof lines, but it's kind of loose. The only thing now that I would do, and let me show you, is a free demonstration. Look, along this railing, I would go. I meant to do it at the time and didn't. Is to put the profile line on because it gets a little busy there. And then I go down, and that's the kind of thing. And then adding, and see, there's no color in there, and it's focusing the color where I want you to look, and that's the kind of thing we'll cover in the mini workshop. I'm sure there's another one. Not that one. No, these are all Instagram challenges. There you go. There's another one. That's one of mine. Quick drawing. Set the scene with really fine lines there. Look, to show that there are some fine buildings, but it's this. And in fact, it's a 3-stage process. It's the line drawing with fine lines, watercolor over the top, and then because the watercolor can kill some of the fine lines, when the paint's dry, you go back in with your pen. If you can see, some of these are slightly heavier, and it just brings that into perspective. And what happened, this is what I'll be demonstrating this. These were colors mixed on the page. It was just, I don't carefully mix in a palette. I don't mix colors and then say, I'll put that there and put that there. I let them mix on the page, and you get some fabulous results. You might get some complete anomalies, but by and large, letting watercolor do what it does best. Oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah,
Great.
that's what we'll be looking at. Definitely.
Okay. Awesome. That was such a great explanation, John. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. John, I do want to convey to you that there's a lot of love for you in the chat. They thought you did an amazing job despite the audio issue earlier. And so there's a lot of love for you and a lot of thanks and gratitude for continuing on despite the problem that we had. So thank you for hanging in there, everybody. And John, again, thank you so much for pushing through and showing us this really great drawing.
That's entirely my pleasure, Marion, and everybody else. Oh,
absolutely. All right, John. All right, everybody. That's the end of our hour. We went a lot over time, but we just had that kind of a day today, so no worries at all. Have a good rest of your day, everybody. Have a good rest of your night. Otherwise, we hope to see you all at John's mini workshop. I'm posting the link one more time in the chat. I did want to bring up our Facebook group. I only had time to do it in the chat, but please do join our Facebook group if you haven't already been a part of it. You may see John, if he's a member of it, able to comment on your work after today's demo, if he's got the time. So otherwise, please, great. Words from the man himself. So yeah, all right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you there. We'll see you soon. See you at the mini workshop. And again, have a good rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Thanks. Bye, Marion. Take care, everybody.